good. You all fed now? That's good. Hello, and welcome to Chapter 3. The Universal Law of Cause and Effect. Let's begin. The law of cause and effect, also known as the law of karma, is a fundamental principle that governs the universe. It states that every action has a consequence, and that these consequences are inextricably linked to the actions that caused them. In essence, the law of cause and effect teaches us that we reap what we sow, and that the choices we make have a direct impact on the events and circumstances of our lives. The concept of cause and effect can be found in many ancient spiritual traditions, including Hinduism, Buddhism, and Taoism. In the West, the law of cause and effect has been studied and discussed for centuries, with philosophers such as Aristotle and Immanuel Kant delving into its complexities. At its core, the law of cause and effect states that every action we take has a corresponding effect. This effect can be positive or negative, depending on the nature of the action. For example, if we act with kindness and compassion towards others, we are likely to attract positive experiences and people into our lives. Conversely, if we act with cruelty and selfishness, we are likely to attract negative experiences and people. One of the key aspects of the law of cause and effect is the idea of intention. According to this principle, the consequences of our actions are determined by the intentions behind them. If we act with good intentions, even if the outcome is not what we hoped for, we are more likely to experience positive consequences. Conversely, if we act with ill intentions, even if the outcome seems positive at first, we are more likely to experience negative consequences in the long run. Another important aspect of the law of cause and effect is the concept of interdependence. This principle states that everything in the universe is connected, and that every action we take has an impact on the world around us. In other words, our actions are not isolated events, but rather part of a larger web of cause and effect that stretches out into the universe. The law of cause and effect also teaches us about the nature of responsibility. According to this principle, we are responsible for the consequences of our actions, both positive and negative. This means that we cannot blame others for our circumstances, but must take responsibility for the choices we make and the effects they have. One of the most powerful tools for understanding the law of cause and effect is mindfulness. By becoming more aware of our thoughts, emotions, and actions, we can begin to see the connections between them and the consequences they produce. This awareness allows us to make conscious choices about how we act and respond to the world around us, and can help us to create more positive outcomes in our lives. There are several practices that can be used to cultivate mindfulness and awareness of the law of cause and effect. One of the most popular is meditation, which can help us to quiet our minds and become more attuned to the present moment. Through meditation, we can begin to see the connections between our thoughts, emotions, and actions, and develop a deeper understanding of the law of cause and effect. Another practice that can help us to cultivate mindfulness and awareness is journaling. By keeping a daily record of our thoughts, emotions, and actions, we can begin to see the patterns and connections that we may not have noticed before. This awareness can help us to make more conscious choices about how we act and respond to the world around us. The law of cause and effect has many implications for our lives. It teaches us that we are responsible for our own circumstances, and that the choices we make have a direct impact on the events and people that come into our lives. It teaches us about the power of intention and the importance of acting with good intentions in order to create positive outcomes. By cultivating mindfulness and awareness of the law of cause and effect, we can begin to see the world in a different light and make more conscious choices about how we live our lives. Ultimately, the law of cause and effect reminds us that we have the power to create the life we want, and that the choices we make today will shape the outcomes of our tomorrow. The law of cause and effect, also known as the law of karma, is a fundamental principle that can have a profound impact on our lives if we choose to apply it. In this tutorial, we will explore some practical ways that you can use the law of cause and effect to create more positive outcomes in your life. Step 1. Cultivate awareness. The first step to applying the law of cause and effect to your life is to cultivate awareness. This means becoming more conscious of your thoughts, emotions, and actions, and the impact they have on the world around you. One way to do this is through meditation. Set aside time each day and sit in stillness and observe your thoughts and emotions without judgment. This can help you to develop a greater awareness of the patterns and habits that may be causing negative outcomes in your life. Step 2. Set positive intentions. The law of cause and effect teaches us that the consequences of our actions are determined by our intentions. Therefore, it is important to set positive intentions for yourself and your life. Take time each day to focus on what you want to achieve and set specific goals and intentions that align with your values and aspirations. This will help you to stay focused and motivated and increase the likelihood of positive outcomes. Step 3. Practice mindful action. Once you have developed awareness and set positive intentions, the next step is to take mindful action. This means being intentional and purposeful in your actions and considering the impact they will have on yourself and others. Before you act, ask yourself if your actions align with your intentions and values. If not, take a step back and consider alternative actions that may be more in line with your goals. Step 4. Take responsibility for your actions. The law of cause and effect reminds us that we are responsible for the consequences of our actions. Therefore, it is important to take responsibility for your choices and the impact that they have on your life and the lives of those around you. This means acknowledging your mistakes and taking steps to make amends, as well as celebrating your successes and the positive impact you have on the world. Step 5. Embrace interdependence. The law of cause and effect teaches us that everything in the universe is connected and that our actions have an impact on the world around us. Therefore, it is important to embrace interdependence and recognize the role that others play in our lives. This means treating others with kindness and respect and considering the impact our actions will have on them. By applying these principles of awareness, positive intention, mindful action, responsibility, and interdependence, you can begin to harness the power of the law of cause and effect to create more positive outcomes in your life. Remember, every action you take has a consequence, and the choices you make today will shape the outcome of your tomorrow. Here's a little story I've written. The magic of kindness. How one prince's compassion transformed a kingdom. Once upon a time, in a magical kingdom far, far away, there lived a young prince named Alexander. He was kind, compassionate, and always acted with good intentions. His actions were governed by the law of cause and effect, which he had learned from his wise and thoughtful father, the king. One day, while exploring the woods near the castle, Alexander came across a wounded bird lying on the ground. He could see that the bird was in pain, and so he carefully picked it up and brought it back to the castle. He spent the next several days nursing the bird back to health, feeding it and giving it water. As the days passed, Alexander watched in amazement as the bird grew stronger and stronger. One day, as he was preparing to release the bird back into the wild, he noticed something strange. The bird was no longer just an ordinary bird, but a magical one. with feathers that shimmered in the sunlight and eyes that sparkled like diamonds. The bird looked up at Alexander with a grateful expression, and suddenly he knew that his kindness and compassion had caused this transformation. The law of cause and effect was at work, and he had reaped the reward of his actions. From that day forward, Alexander made a commitment to always act with good intentions, to be mindful of his thoughts, emotions, and actions, and to take responsibility for the consequences of his choices. He knew that by doing so, he could create a life of happiness, abundance, and joy. As Alexander grew older, he shared his knowledge of the law of cause and effect with the people of his kingdom. He taught them that every action they took had a consequence, and that by acting with kindness, compassion, and good intentions, they could create a world filled with peace and harmony. And so, the kingdom of Alexander became a shining example of the power of the law of cause and effect. The people lived in harmony. The animals were treated with kindness and respect, and the land flourished with abundance. In the end, Alexander knew that he had created a legacy that would last for generations. And as he looked out over his kingdom, he smiled, knowing that the law of cause and effect would continue to guide and govern the lives of his people for many years to come. Make a beautiful day. The day that you deserve.